Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 2. I am Janice Cobham, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari says his administration's achievement earned Tinubu's victory. President-elect Bola Tinubu begins reconciliation moves, sets up committees to meet Atiku, Obi, Kwankwaso. Plus, US and Russia trade attracts tension at talks in Delhi. We'll bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. First in our news this afternoon is Nigeria's leader, President Muhammadu Buhari, who has declared that Nigerians decided to vote for Bola Tinubu and other candidates of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC in last Saturday's presidential and National Assembly elections due to the high level of development brought about by the present administration. Speaking while receiving an audience, the president-elect and other leaders of the ruling party at his Daura country home in Katsina State, the president, according to a statement issued by presidential spokesperson Garba Shehu, said he was pleased with the people's choice of APC and its candidates. Buhari commended APC supporters and the Presidential Campaign Council for the historic win, adding that it would never have been possible without discipline, commitment, and hard work. And meanwhile, the president-elect Bola Tinubu has set up committees to meet aggrieved presidential candidates to start reconciliatory process. Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State and a member of the committees disclosed this in a statement by his chief press secretary Richard Olatunde. He said a committee of elders of the All Progressives Congress APC would soon begin to meet with co-contestants of the president-elect in a bid to assuage their loss in the just concluded polls. In the meantime, the United States has congratulated Nigeria on the election of ruling party presidential candidate Bola Tinubu, while calling for calm amid accusation of voter fraud and concerns over technical glitches. The State Department called on the electoral body to improve on highlighted issues before the 11 March gubernatorial elections, noting that Nigerians were right to expect them to do better. The U.S. also urged all parties to avoid violence at this critical time and to seek to resolve any disputes through legal channels.
The United States congratulates the people of Nigeria, President-elect Tinubu, and all political leaders following the declaration by Nigeria's Independent National Electoral Commission, or INEC, on the results of the February 25th presidential election. This competitive election represents a new period for Nigerian politics and democracy. Each of the top 3 candidates was the leading vote-getter in 12 states, a remarkable first in Nigeria's modern political era, reflecting the diversity of views that characterize the campaign and the wishes of Nigeria's voters. We understand that many Nigerians and some of the parties have expressed frustrations about the manner in which the process was conducted and the shortcomings of technical elements that were used for the first time in a presidential election cycle in Nigeria. Nigerians are clearly within their rights to have such concerns and should have high expectations for their electoral processes. We join other international observers in urging INEC to improve in the areas that need the most attention ahead of the March 11th gubernatorial elections. There are well-established. We note with concern reports that numerous members of the media were attacked during the course of the election, and we urge the government, security forces, political actors, and all citizens to respect the media's critical role by refraining from any damaging acts against them and ensuring accountability for such acts when they do occur.
In the meantime, the United Kingdom has congratulated the President-elect Bola Tinubu on his victory at the Saturday's presidential polls. In a statement, UK Foreign Secretary James Cleverly hailed registered voters for exercising their democratic rights and urged opposition parties to seek legal ways of addressing issues as well as focus on delivering democracy. Meanwhile, a pressure group under the aegis of Arewa New Agenda enjoined the president-elect to take decisive steps by extending a hand of fellowship to candidates of the major parties to douse the tension across the country. And elsewhere, the Majority Leader House of Representatives Al-Hassan Doguwa has been reportedly remanded in prison custody by a Chief Magistrate's Court in Kano. The lawmaker, alongside one other suspect, was charged with 5 counts bordering on unlawful possession of firearm, mischief, culpable homicide and disturbance of public peace. Doguwa was arrested after he was accused of leading thugs who attacked and set on fire the office of the New Nigeria People's Party (NNPP) at Tudunwada, Kano, where 2 people were allegedly burnt to death during the collation of results of the just concluded elections. Reports say he was also accused of shooting to death and injuring others during the raid on the NNPP Tudunwada office. Meanwhile, the magistrate, Ibrahim Yola, said he had no jurisdiction to entertain the charges. And moving away from that, the federal government has registered India to grant visa on arrival to Nigerians as a reciprocal gesture. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, made the request at the G20 meeting in India. Onyema, according to a statement signed by his special advisor, Sarah Sanda, also requested India to fast-track the issuance of business visas to Nigerians. The minister emphasized the need for bilateral trade between both countries. In the meantime, the Federal Executive Council in Abuja has approved the sum of 39.6 billion naira for various contracts for transmission lines in the Federal Ministry of Power. Minister of Power Abubakar Liyu, in a press briefing, said the 39.6 billion naira contract comprised of offshore and onshore components of $53 million and 15.6 billion naira respectively. He noted that the second memorandum sought the Council's approval for the award of contracts for the construction of a 15-kilometer turn-in-turn outline of the existing Akure Ado-Ekiti 139 kilovolts kV single-circuit transmission line at Akure 330 kV, 132 kV, and 33 kV substations. Moving now to a separate development, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps (NSCDC) has disclosed that between January 2022 till date, 71 illegal refineries and 22 oil bunkering sites have been destroyed. The Corps, in clampdown on activities of criminal elements such as vandals, economic saboteurs, and oil thieves with the use of advanced technologies, within the same period impounded 134 trucks, 36 boats and other equipment used in perpetrating illegal oil bunkering in the country. Speaking at the celebration of the World Civil Defense Day in Abuja, the Commandant General of the NSCDC, Ahmed Audi, said the Corps had maintained a dogged fight against the activities of criminal elements such as vandals, economic saboteurs and oil thieves with the use of advanced technologies. He noted that since his appointment as a Commandant General, disaster management, risk assessment, crime detection and prevention, protection of critical national assets and infrastructure like petroleum pipelines, electrical installations, communications equipments, roads, railways, and others relatively had improved from what it used to be. Residents of Uyo, Akwa Ibom State capital, have called on the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to ensure that March 11th gubernatorial and State House of Assembly elections is free, fair, and credible. They made this call while speaking to our correspondent Esther Otoyo on the reactions to the just concluded Presidential and National Assembly elections.
I also call on INEC to still keep on the free and fair election so far. This is a test run on our nascent democracy. So if we could give peace a chance, me and you could give peace a chance, we go out to vote a candidate of our choice, and then I think Nigeria, we will have a sustained democracy in Nigeria.
They also solicited with INEC to ensure quick arrival of the beavers, ad hoc staff and other electoral materials to the polling units so as to enable a quick commencement of the elections.
I want to advise INEC that they should arrive polling unit on time. 2, they should make sure that the beavers has been activated before they move from INEC office. Because most time when they brought the beavers, it took time before they come up for it to begin to use. Ad hoc staff arrive early. If there is any fault on this website that will warrant breakdown during the process, because the number of people that will vote on March 11 will be more.
We need a lot of machines so that can help people to vote in time.
Recall that the just concluded presidential election saw Bola Tinubu as the president-elect by the electoral body. We move to Africa now, where numbers of thousands of people have demonstrated in Diapaga in eastern Burkina Faso to demand more security 3 days after a reported deadly attack on a neighboring town whose death toll remains unknown. According to the governor of the region, Hubert Yamego, who said an assessment would be drawn up as soon as possible, confirmed that terrorists attacked civilians, ransacked and set fire on several material goods. Recall that Burkina Faso has been seen a resurgence of jihadist violence since the beginning of the year, with dozens of deaths, civilian and soldiers almost every week. Reports say the violence has left more than 10,000 civilians and soldiers dead since 2015 and 2 million people displaced. And still in Africa, at least 14 people have reportedly died, 7 in Madagascar and 7 in Mozambique following a tropical cyclone. According to the UN situation report, the number of people affected by Cyclone Freddy has risen to 383,000 from 226,000 in Madagascar and more than 163,300 in Mozambique. Meanwhile, the World Food Programme representative in Madagascar, Pasqualina Cirio, said even though the intensity of Cyclone Freddy was not as much as expected, hundreds of thousands of people are in need of humanitarian assistance and recovery will take months. On the foreign scene, tensions over Russia's war in Ukraine have dominated G20 talks in Delhi, even after India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged foreign ministers to put aside their divisions. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said the meeting was marred by Russia's unprovoked and unjustified war. Meanwhile, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov reportedly accused the West of bearing a deal to allow some Ukrainians grain export. The foreign ministers, including Lavrov, Blinken, and China's Queen Gang, are in Delhi for the summit. Still on the foreign scene, France's President Emmanuel Macron has begun tour of Central Africa in a diplomatic drive to test a new responsible relationship with the continent as anti-French sentiment runs high in some former colonies. He landed in Gabon's capital, Libreville, on Wednesday and will later head to Angola, Congo-Brazzaville, and the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo. Macron's trip comes as alarms grows in Paris over Russia's rising influence in French-speaking African countries, joining China, which has seen presence in the region for some years. According to Macron, the French military would reduce its footprint on the continent in the coming months through a military source, and analysts have said French army chiefs may be reluctant to do so. And still to come in the news, World Cup Finals record goal scorer Just Fontaine dies at 89.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Thanks for still being there. Now to the rest of our stories. We begin from the business news. On our business news, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has disclosed that the total assets of the banking industry grew by 14.36 trillion naira, or 24.24%, from 59.24 trillion naira at the end of December 2021 to 73.59 trillion naira in the corresponding period of 2022. The CBN disclosed this in the personal statement made by the Deputy Governor, Financial System Stability Directorate, CBN, Aisha Ahmed, at the last monetary policy meeting. She said key industry aggregates also continued their year-on-year upward trajectory, with total assets rising to 73.59 trillion naira in December 2022 from 59.24 trillion naira in December 2021, while total deposits rose to 45.50 trillion naira from 38.42 trillion naira over the same period. According to her, the financial system had provided significant support for needed domestic economic resilience amid global shocks and remained strong into 2023. Still in business, Seplat Energy PLC has said the sale and purchase agreement to acquire the entire share capital belonging to Mobil Producing Unlimited Nigeria for $1.28 million plus up to $300 million contingent considerations was still awaiting presidential approval. Its Chief Executive Officer, Roger Brown, made the announcement while commenting on its audited results for 2022, which recorded a rise in profit before tax by 15% to 87 billion naira from 71 billion naira year on year. According to Brown, the The company hopes to conclude the transaction before the end of the current administration. The company, however, said it would be paying a US 7.7% final dividend despite the significantly disrupted production experienced on the second half of the year. We move now to health, where Cambodian health authorities have said there was no human-to-human transmission of bird flu in the case of a father and daughter who caught the virus. The 11-year-old girl died last Wednesday and her father tested positive 2 days later, prompting the World Health Organization to voice concerns about possible transmission between humans. Reports say one of the worst global outbreaks of avian influenza has been raging since late 2021, with thousands of poultry killed, wild birds dying in large numbers, and infections among some animals rising. Meanwhile, Cambodia's Communicable Disease Control Department had said that 49-year-old father who had no symptoms had recovered and been discharged from hospital. Humans rarely contract bird flu, but when they do, reports say it is usually from direct contact with infected birds. And still in health, Beijing has accused Washington of harming its own credibility after a top United States intelligence official said his agency believed the pandemic was most likely caused by a laboratory incident in Wuhan, China. FBI Director Christopher Wray told newsmen that the Bureau has now assessed that the source of COVID-19 was most likely a potential lab incident in Wuhan. Reports say Chinese officials have angrily denied the claim, calling it a smear campaign against Beijing. Meanwhile, Wray's comments comes after a report earlier this week had said the U.S. Department of Energy had determined that a leak from a Chinese lab was the most likely cause of the COVID-19 outbreak. Let's move to sports now, where the family of Jos Fontaine has confirmed that the all-time top scorer in a single World Cup finals with 13 goals has died at the age of 89. Fontaine achieved the record in the 1958 finals in Sweden, where France reached the semi-finals for the first time in their history, losing to Pele's Brazil. The finals record goal scorer also won 4 French league titles, 1 with Nice and 3 with the Great Rams side of the post-war era. He played in the Rams team that lost to the Real Madrid of Alfredo Di Stefano, Ferenc Pusac and Raymond Kopa in the 1959 European Cup final. According to reports, Fontaine was forced to retire in 1962 at the age of 28 after he suffered a double leg fracture. And still in some sports stories, Nigeria's under-20 national team, the Flying Eagles, will today, Thursday, face Hippos of Uganda in the quarterfinals of the ongoing CAF U20 AFCON in Egypt. Aside from a progress to the semi-finals of the competition, the winners of the clash will also secure a spot at the 2023 Under-20 World Cup, which will take place in Indonesia between May 20 and June 11. Having made it out of the group stage in a Pompey manner, the Flying Eagles have set the World Cup place as their primary objective at the tournament, which they last won in 2015. Meanwhile, their opponent, Uganda, will head into the game high on confidence after finishing top of Group A, thanks to 2 draws against Congo and Sudan, a win over the Central African Republic, and the luck of drawn lots. Uganda also made their debut appearance at the Under-20 AFCON in the last edition, but they shocked all, including themselves, as they surmounted all obstacles to reach the finals, but eventually settled for second place as they were beaten by Ghana in the finals. On our entertainment news, tickets for this year's Eurovision Song Contest in Liverpool will go on sale on Tuesday, 7th March. Reports say fans will be able to pay to attend 9 shows, 2 live semi-finals and the grand finale, as well as 6 previews doubling up as dress rehearsals. Prices reportedly range from £90 to £290 for the live semi-finals and £160 to £380 for the live grand finale. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do well to follow us on all our social media pages and ensure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 2. My name is Janice Cobham. Do have a great afternoon.